Okay, so this is my privilege and honor to kick off a topic that the panel following this, which I will moderate, it will go a lot deeper into. So this is sort of the warm-up act, if you will. Again, my role in the community right now, and for some years, has been as a organizer of a workforce development association, a little bit by accident, but it's 8 years old now, with 32,000 members around the world, focused on control system cybersecurity. And so I'm going to talk today about, I chose the word smart society. There were a bunch of terms floating around. There's smart cities and smart management, smart economies, smart transportation, and there's all these wearables. People are hacking, biohacking. So, what is all this smartness? It's connectedness, right? In the end, where more and more things are being connected. I've seen various statistics, 5 million new Internet of Things devices waking up and being connected to other devices every day. And if you think about that, the number of attack surfaces and the number of opportunities, a lot of great features, a lot of cool new things, but a lot of new exploits to be dreamt up by various parties. So in the context of what we're talking about within a city or within transportation and within everything my association focuses on, we're talking about anything with cyber to physical elements, moving parts in the real world, pumps, valves, actuators that are connected to other systems via networks. Not long ago, some of these would have been, many of these, if not most, would have been isolated. They would have been in their own sort of ecosystem and not connected to the outside world, but that's no longer the case. So just talking about smart cities and smart transportation, and there's a great interrelatedness there, which my panel will get deeper into. Just that's a lot, right? If you think about all the different connected technologies and all these different industry verticals, and then you just start to narrow down to a municipality. It's an interesting ecosystem with almost all of the systems that exist. Certainly everything that our association focuses on. Maybe not every city has a huge amount of maritime. They might be an inland city, but there are most of the representations and dependencies on all these systems. Utilities, obviously, would be inherent for all of them. Lots of different transportation systems. And even within that, when you start peeling back all these onion layers within transportation, there's a bunch of different subsectors, right? Planes, trains, automobiles, buses, subways, and you think about how all these systems are getting increasingly connected for lots of, again, very positive reasons, but they all have a sort of a dark side. So I wanted to share some statistics. One thing that our association does is we're always gathering data from polls and from surveys. We're independent. We're not selling a product. We're a nonprofit, so we are, I think, becoming trusted on being able to just say, this is what we learned from everybody. And, different, depending on who you are, you might not like it, but this is sort of the, ground truth. And so I picked out some relative statistics. And this one here is from a panel, basically respondents who are working in transportation, saying, which one do you think is the most vertical, yeah, I can't read that, unfortunately, with my glasses. Yeah, so here you can see quite a large increase in, or sort of prediction and sort of in targeting of these related systems based on practitioners in the space. So this is interesting too, talking about within transportation, the different kinds of areas. It's fun to talk about a plane, an actual airframe, and could it be hacked? The truth is that's not what most people are most concerned about. They're concerned about things that are much more common, much more likely. Identity and access management. If you think about municipalities and airports and the amount of people that need to come and go, the number of separate parties that are providing services and functions and have to have access to various systems. The global positioning system, this has come up in a number of our talks and discussions. How many systems are reliant on GPS and for GPS to work exactly as planned? It has some great planning within it for known threats like age of a system and swapping one asset out for another in the satellite constellation. It doesn't have very good redundancy when it starts talking about human threat actors, maybe nation states. What would happen if we lost a certain amount of satellites at the same time? There's so many systems reliant on that. And this was an event we did with 300 or 400 people on transportation, but we said of the transportation sectors, which ones do you think? Which one do you think is going to be the most targeted? And aviation was the winner amongst all the people polled that day. So what's in a smart city, in a smart municipality? Again, it's all these sorts of systems, right? And there's some quick ones everybody would agree on. So yeah, there's going to be smart buildings. That's clear. There's going to be traffic systems, traffic control systems, lighting systems, camera systems, law enforcement systems. It just goes on and on. All the utilities, obviously, present there. Things like charging stations. And people are celebrating that. We're rolling out 100 new charging stations. Researchers have already proven to some vintage of charging stations, hopefully they're fixing this, but they've proven with some charging stations that you can get from the charging station back upstream to parts of the system that you shouldn't be able to get to. So there's work to be done in the architectures of all of these systems to segment them, and that's a big theme, in the operating technology control system space. And so this a municipality is a really interesting ecosystem to study. And the reliance on these things are just growing. There's more information technology converging into all these systems. And it's not just for nice to have neat new features. And not long ago, vendors of various products might say, oh, and you can also enable this sort of cool additional feature. Now some things are being shipped, and it's assumed for it to work, it's assumed it will be connected to other systems. And there's more third parties, vendors, or people doing work or maintenance requiring access to the systems remotely. And remote access is a very big deal, obviously, in all sectors, but certainly it's very critical in this one. And there's unknown vulnerabilities. Supply chain is getting more and more attention. So we buy a product that we install in our city or in our airport, and inside that product are other people's products. Certainly when you start talking about software code, there can be code libraries even further downstream. Somebody else's work derivative is buried in there, and somebody else's work derivative is buried in what they put into that product. What is the security of that chain? And we, in the last couple of years, we've had a couple of great examples of where that can break down very, very quickly. So it's true that we have to worry about that in all these sorts of systems as well. And there's a lot of high stakes with it. And people are being targeted. And the panel will talk a little bit about this, but ransomware is a great moneymaker, and going after cities is where some money can be made. Smart buildings happening everywhere. A lot of people think about this in different ways, but there's huge economic drivers for it. There's studies talking about if we can turn lights off when we also know from sensors no one's in the building, when we can attenuate the temperature, and the list goes on and on and on, that if we can make all these sort of automated adjustments based on all sorts of sensors, huge money to the bottom line. And that is a driver. Every time I get drawn into cybersecurity conversations where people are objecting to some of this modernization, I think to myself, the business is what's driving this. So we really have to talk about how we're going to do it. There's really not much value in arguing anymore whether. And I'm not saying all things. Some things maybe should still be debated. Some hard questions should still be asked. Some systems should maybe be better protected than others. But there's major drivers for this, and you can see the adoption of all these technologies. There's too much money at stake, and so it's sort of the genie is out of the bottle. It's going to happen. It is happening. This is what commercial buildings, I just want to talk about buildings, a subset of a municipality or a smart campus. This is the state of the union today. This is one of the weaker industry verticals. If you look in energy, you're going to find some advanced strategies in a lot of big energy companies. Buildings, you're going to go back in time. You're going to find a mess in a lot of places, and a bunch of case studies, which I can't go into today, but that I have of examples where things go wrong. We do, in one of our annual studies, we ask all the respondents to sort of say, who are your threat actors? Rank your threat actors. Insiders are the winner. They are the clear winner over nation states, hacktivists, criminal groups, insiders. Well, this is a perfect example of physical access as well as networked access. You can walk into a lot of places and get right access into parts of networks you shouldn't be in because it's not been laid out very well. There's a lot of catch-up work to be done. And this is sort of a quick report card on buildings, and it's not very good right now. And so a municipality is probably going to have a lot of interconnected buildings, some owned by their own owners and some owned by the state. And the general report card is like I said, it's fairly immature. A great example, when people talk about threat vectors, and they say, for instance, in some circumstances, ransomware. Well, we don't have in our control environment, we don't have email clients. So how would it possibly, how would ransomware affect our building control system? Well, this is one of the best examples where that's generally or often not true. If you go into the basement of the building, there is an end point, a PC, a unit, and it has direct controls for the building systems. It has multiple people using it from different parties under the same password, and it has an email client on it. So that's one of the best examples where the nexus can be right next to each other. There's more exotic connections between business units and operational units, and some you can get through those. It can be quite direct. Somebody can click on the wrong thing and have that endpoint compromised and give control to the building control system, and it's happening. And so it's got some unfortunate, costly results. So I just want to, as I'm wrapping up, use an example that if the castle is sort of a building or a smart city, there's a lot of leadership in the yellow shirt, that may have been in this phase recently. I think people are leaving this phase. This is where things are wide open, but they're still blissful because they're not really concentrating on it. Not long ago, this was a lot of people. I hope this category is dwindling. If you know the industry, red shirts are attackers and blue shirts are defenders. So my sort of joke is that the biggest group are yellow shirts, and that's everybody else in all of our organizations. And we're part of the ecosystem. We're the ones that open emails we shouldn't. We're the ones that do things that we shouldn't. And so we have to help the blue shirt defenders out. We got to raise the cyber hygiene of all of our folks. This is where more people have entered. And as you can see, they've invested in a few technologies. They've got themselves a moat, and they've taken some steps. But now they're not blissful anymore because there's known unknowns. So we've taken some steps, but by doing that and all the discussions that led to that, we're more aware than ever of some things that we probably don't quite know or don't have handled very well. But this is where a lot of people are, and this is where some people have gotten to. And they've invested in more technologies. They now have a professional staff of defenders in the blue shirts there, and they've certainly hardened their target. Have they made it impossible to have an incident in their building or in their campus or their smart city? No. There's no such place that you can arrive at, but they've hardened their target. They've lessened the impact. Maybe if they do have an incident, it's only in one small section of their facility or one of their facilities, not their entire facility. They've made proper segmentation. They've taken some steps. But this is the reality. The reality is that we are giving away our access, credentialed access. And so even if you've invested in technologies, if you don't raise the cyber hygiene of everyone in the organization, and I'm not talking about making everybody into experts, no. But we got to come from where we are, which is low maturity to moderate maturity, and stop doing the very, very low-hanging fruit things that we should not be doing, giving away access and letting people come in and do things within our facilities that they should not be doing. So what are they doing about this? This next panel, we'll get some more into that, and we'll have an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into transportation specifically as a part of a subsegment of smart cities. And this is really where where we are. And to the left, cybersecurity programs for operating technology. You don't have to go back very far. There weren't such a thing, or they were very few of them. Trained individuals who understand cybersecurity and operating technology. Not very many of those. And so there are some people who have been working on this longer than others, but it's a small group. And every year, there's more people sort of joining this particular subset of the cybersecurity workforce. We're somewhere in the middle, but my prediction, and I believe this is just the truth, is we're going to arrive at this place. It's not called we're secure, we've made it. It's just acceptable managed risk. And it's a discipline around measuring risk, quantifying it, ranking it. We're not going to take care of everything. We're not going to eliminate everything. We're going to take certain risks and say that's an acceptable risk. This one's not, and we're going to mitigate it. And we're going to have enough defenders, hopefully at some point to be able to do that, and new technologies. And we've got to invest in some of the things I'm highlighting in yellow. We've got to get leadership buy-in at all these organizations, whether it's a municipality or transportation related or really any company. There's going to have to be more senior level buy-in. Some industries have that now, but there's still plenty that don't. We need to build a true understanding of the risks. That's again about measurement and quantification. It's not about trying to fix all of them. That'd be the next step. After you understand what they are and you can prioritize them, that's key. We have to build trust across the organization, especially if you talk about a smart city. There's lots of different people, and there's lots of different responsibilities, different companies, different organizations, different divisions even within government, and there's distrust or poor communication at best between some of these some of these parties. Talk about incident response, that's where that really matters. You need to have all that coordinated well. And incident response is a great example of something to practice for. If you are getting everybody together for the first time while you're having an incident, you're asking for more pain and more risk. So getting people together and doing wargaming, tabletopping and exercises, CTFs in advance can be a real eye-opener for everybody that's involved. So I highly recommend doing those sorts of exercises. Thank you.